Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating and honestly deeply counterintuitive truth about anti-aging. Look, if you've ever dropped a small fortune on a tiny jar of luxury cream, or maybe agonized over some wild 10-step nighttime routine because, let's face it, getting older is scary, well, get ready. We're about to turn absolutely everything you thought you knew about keeping your skin youthful completely upside down.
So let's kick things off with a question I think we all want the answer to. What do people who still look naturally young in their 60s and 70s actually have in common? Well, the answer goes against literally everything the modern beauty industry tells us to do. We're constantly sold this idea that we need more, right? More products, more treatments, more aggressive interventions. But what if, actually, scratch that, what if the real secret is doing exactly the opposite?
To really get to the bottom of this, we're grounding our explainer today in the observations of a highly specialized medical expert, specifically a plastic surgeon who has dedicated exactly 20 years to skin regeneration medicine. That's 2 decades of observing, treating, and analyzing aging faces day in and day out. So this isn't some passing beauty trend or a slick marketing gimmick. We're talking about 20 years of hard, clinical, real-world observation.
And over those 20 years, this doctor has consulted with an incredible number of people. We're talking about a staggering sample size of nearly 10,000 aging patients. 10,000! That massive number establishes some unquestionable authority for the secrets we're about to reveal today. When you look at that many faces over that long of a period, clear, undeniable patterns are going to start to emerge. So, what did this expert actually find out?
Okay, let's dive into this. Secret number 1, the ideal body shape. The very first characteristic of youthful skin is surprisingly holistic. It actually has very little to do with the face itself and pretty much everything to do with the body as a whole. Patients who are either extremely overweight or severely underweight, they rarely show up with naturally youthful skin in their older years. In fact, the doctor specifically noted that those who are extremely thin often appear gaunt, or they have this dull, almost dark complexion. It turns out that maintaining a beautifully balanced weight is actually one of the strongest, most consistent predictors of a youthful face.
And the reason why is pretty brilliant. You see, a balanced physique isn't just about vanity or fitting into a specific dress size. Maintaining a moderate, healthy weight naturally reflects profound inner self-control. It suggests excellent stress management, meaning you aren't, eating driven by anxiety, and you aren't trapped in extreme dietary habits. It also shows a lack of that obsessive, paralyzing fear about gaining weight. It's really the ultimate indicator of a perfectly regulated lifestyle, and that internal harmony, it radiates straight through to your skin.
Moving right along, secret number 2, the minimalist skincare secret. Now this next one completely shatters our expectations. When the doctor encounters that rare group of patients in their 60s and 70s who have just stunning, remarkably youthful skin and asks them for their secret, they almost always say some variation of this exact quote. Get this. I really don't do anything special. I'm actually quite lazy with my skincare. Can you imagine hearing that? After everything we're told to buy, to layer, to apply, the most beautiful patients claim they're simply lazy?
Just consider the massive contrast here for a second. On one hand, you've got the obsessive routines, patients meticulously applying luxury creams that cost 50,000 yen a pop, dedicating hours and hours to their skin. And then on the other hand, you have the quote-unquote lazy approach. These are people who just quickly splash on a basic moisturizer. Sometimes they even admit to being so lazy that they just forget to wash their makeup off before falling asleep. No way, right?
So the crucial point here is this startling clinical observation. The heavy spenders, the ones dedicating thousands of dollars and hours of sheer anxiety to their faces, they don't stick in the doctor's memory for having great skin. The most naturally youthful patients are overwhelmingly the ones who just leave their skin alone. They keep it simple, they stay natural, they don't overprocess their face, and paradoxically, they end up winning the aging game.
Which brings us to secret number 3. The cosmetic surgery trap.
This is perhaps the most controversial paradox observed in the clinic, and it really forces us to rethink medical intervention. In this terrifying pursuit of youth, patients often turn to a relentless cycle of procedures. We're talking about constant hyaluronic acid fillers, continuous Botox injections, frequent thread lifts inserted into the cheeks, and even full-on surgical facelifts, the whole shebang. These are heavy, continuous investments meant to, basically, artificially freeze time.
But here's the profound flip side of that coin. Obsessively chasing youth through endless medical procedures very often results in skin that looks noticeably older and completely unnatural. The doctor noted that patients who constantly alter their faces out of a sheer fear of aging, ironically, end up with skin that lacks any genuine youthfulness. It doesn't look vital or healthy, it just looks heavily processed and, well, strained.
Now, as we're going through this, I can practically hear you asking this exact question. But wait, what about the sun? Right? If the secret is being lazy and leaving our skin alone, don't we still have to obsessively guard against UV rays? It is absolutely the elephant in the room when we talk about a minimalist, hands-off approach to skincare.
So here's how we impartially break down that nuance. On one side, we have the undisputed scientific reality. UVA statistically destroys the dermis and undeniably causes deep wrinkles. That is a medical fact, vividly clear in patients who've spent years aggressively tanning. However, on the other side, the doctor still sees a clinical anomaly. There are lazy patients who freely admit to terrible habits and heavy, unprotected sun exposure in their past, yet they still walk into the clinic with beautiful, remarkably young-looking skin.
So, how in the world do we reconcile this? Well, the takeaway here is that while UV protection remains a solid, statistically proven rule for skin health, perfect behavior isn't the sole dictator of young skin. Heavy, continuous tanning will absolutely guarantee deep wrinkles, for sure, but an occasional slip-up, or even a less-than-perfect history, won't instantly ruin a naturally healthy, holistically balanced foundation.
All right, let's look at the paradigm shift, redefining young skin.
All of these observations completely change how we measure our skin's vitality. Like, what is young skin really? According to this doctor's 20 years of clinical experience, true youthfulness is defined as an evenly arranged stratum corneum, that's the outermost layer of the skin, with fine texture and a healthy gloss, regardless of whether wrinkles are present. Think about that for a second. Wrinkles do not automatically equal old. A beautiful, even texture and a natural, healthy glow matter infinitely more than achieving some artificial, wrinkle-free freeze.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. Are you actively destroying your skin's natural youthfulness by trying way too hard to save it? It's a profound question that completely challenges the entire beauty paradigm we've been taught. Maybe the absolute best thing we can do for our faces as the years go by is simply live a balanced life, step away from the mirror, and just let our skin breathe. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll leave you to thoughtfully reevaluate your own approach to aging.